Check this out. Yes, J-Doc, CJ, and V the Gorilla. They call us alternative, yeah, cause we ain't vanilla. We got the hard-hitting facts coming out that Manila. For the truth in the media's afraid of the realists. Check the statement of the deep state, yeah, they faked it. Mainstream news pull the cover up as sacred. Everybody hates it, but who's the one to face it? It's road news to expose truth to the nation. Yo, who the ones are not afraid to speak the truth? Educate the youth, exposing lies and who they listen to. Hey, they want to call collusion, you ain't got the proof. Who? A lot of people lying now, but what they got to lose? Yeah, but we're not like that. Only interested in facts, making sure we get it right on the trust of the mass. Population's only strong when liberty's intact, and as a wise man said, if it's not, it will last. That was George Washington, by the way.
Party people in the house.
Word.
It is the notorious, glorious V the Gorilla Economist coming to you live. This edition of V and CJ in the mornings, aka the Rogue Mornings. And you're with the commander of the Rogue Rebel Alliance as we storm the beaches, as we kick ass and take names, as we carve through the pedestals of the monolith of the mainstream media, as we kick them their teeth in, as we expose all the lies and fabrications, you name it. That's how we roll with my main man, El Cuco, the wingman extraordinaire, and we're breaking it down. Check us out, roguenews.com. Follow us on Twitter at RealRogueNews. Check out our sponsors as well, mycbdedibles.com, mycbdedibles.com. Restaurant quality, gourmet deliciousness, all at your fingertips. You don't want to miss this. mycbdedibles.com. Go there, whether it's coffee, whether it's the chocolate peanut butter Buckeyes, the almond coconut truffles, pecan truffles, those are delicious, or the yummy, absolutely incredible granola, all infused with CBD oils. None of it is harsh. All of it is gourmet and delicious. Standardized CBD isolate. mycbdedibles.com. Get your CBD on with them. And also check out remaincalm.net, remaincalm.net, whether you're running and hiding and the collectors are coming after you like they are the Predator from the movie The Predator. See that? Did you know they rebooted Predator again?
Why?
There's a new Predator movie. I heard it's fantastic.
Oh, it is? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, Shane Black is the director. He was the original cast members of Predator. He was the one that got his chest blown out and dragged into the woods back in the 80s movie, The Predator.
Yeah.
Oh,
he is. Okay.
Yeah, so he's the one directing this one. So the reviews have been stellar. It's been great for every Predator and sci-fi fan. I'm definitely going to go check it out. But anyway, yeah, check it out. So if you're scared of your collectors because they're like predators, they're trying to hunt you down, and you're running scared, hoping they don't see you in their infrared, you need to check out remaincalm.net. Let these guys kick the predatory collectors in the nuts and blast them to outer space. Or maybe you don't have any collections issues whatsoever. Maybe you just need some money. Maybe you got a business idea that you want to create. Maybe you want to, buy some assets. Maybe, I don't know what it is. Maybe you want to buy stocks, bonds. You want to go to your local financial professional and open up an account. Maybe you want to go to Goldman Sachs and say, hey, you know what? The market's in a tizzy and I don't want to be missy, so let's get busy. And you want to open up an account over there at Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, any one of these charlatans that you just want to do because it's a set it and forget it market. Well, check out remaincalm.net's funding program. The funding program is pretty sick. It is unsecured, folks, meaning you ain't got to put up your house, your spouse, or your child as collateral. And it's up to 800, CJ. Jeez Louise. 800.
A lot of Benjamins.
$800,000. That is the potential for funding that you have. $800,000. Of course, you need a credit score of 680 or better and proof of income. So if you don't have a job, you're unemployed, don't bother, please. Just don't waste your time. You got to have something. The lenders are not just going to give it to you for nonsense, right? So anyway, remaincalm.net, and of course, the cryptoschool.io. The cryptoschool.io, the boys are traveling. Friday, Z and I will be doing a show, so stay tuned for that. Also, check out Z's YouTube channel, Crypto Necos, where you can see our handsome Asian trading quant or crypto quant over there Z, as he's sitting in his apartment somewhere in California and doing all these trades, making it happen, taking names, kicking ass. That's Z. That's how Z does it. Z's the man. With that all out of the way, Siege, what's crack-a-lacking, bro?
Hey, good morning, V. Doing great, doing great. Before we jump into it real quick, just want to give a shout out. Cliff High, I know that he's been dealing with some health issues, and he's going to be going into some therapy, some recovery. So just want to wish him the best. He put out a YouTube video yesterday, live stream on his own channel. So shout out to Cliff. Hopefully you get recovered, get healthy soon. And then also real quick, just on our intro music, I just want to share with everyone, our intro music was produced by Jack Caroselli. And you guys probably remember Jack. We used to do a show with
Generations Collide.
Yeah, and he's trying hard to make it in the music industry. He's got J-Doc Studios. He's been doing some albums. He just released a mini album shortly, and Jack has openly been battling depression. Been going through a lot. We know times are hard for kids of his age coming out of high school, what to do with their lives. So when I heard some of his music, I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's get him to make an intro track for us. So it has more meaning to it other than just an intro song. We want to see that young man succeed. We want to see him to conquer his battle with depression. So J-Doc Studios. So check it out if you get time.
Absolutely. And with that being said, my man, where do you want to begin on this illustrious Thursday morning? God, I'm like a day behind, Siege. Let's start off with this. I think this is important. You got the serious stuff and all these things that are happening. I want to talk about, Siege, the GOP handing over control. Okay? Let's talk about, there's so many distractions going on abroad. It's easy to lose focus domestically. But let's talk about it, bro. Let's talk about it. Siege, let me ask you this. Okay? OpenSecrets.org has some great data over here. Siege, let me ask you, sir, who's outspending who right now?
Well, and asking me to sign in for some crazy reason. Let me bring it up on my other computer real quick. It's not letting me there. Okay. Yeah. So currently, V, when you break it down, I'm going to try to bring it up for our audience one more time. I don't know why it was asking me to sign in. Let's see here. Let's try this one more time. There it goes. Yay. So this is the breakdown. So this comes to us from opensecrets.org. If you guys ever want to learn about PACs, who's funding who, it's a great website to go do some analysis and let's break this down a little bit. So when we take a look at the House, it just basically shows the number of the House and the Senate and the funding. So when you take a look at the breakdown currently for the spending coming up, and this is just total, it looks like the Republicans are currently being outspent $230,000 to $431,000 by the Dems. And in the Senate, we see the same picture, 300,000 compared to, 140,000. Now, people might just say, well, that's just because they have to spend a lot of money on it. But let's drill this down a little bit. So let's go through those that are running strictly for re-election for this coming up midterm. And in particular, it really catches my eyes. Now, granted, you could say pure numbers. So let's take a look at the bottom chart that shows the Senate. So in the Senate, you have 6 Republicans who are currently going to be running for midterms. They've total initial funds per individual has been spent is $23,000, and benchmark that against Dems at 24, and they're spending 180.
See you there.
And I think that what kind of sparked this was, I really think when you think of Paul Ryan, him living Speaker of the House, I think that there was discussions way back when Trump got elected. Again, this is my thoughts. This isn't, I can't prove it. I think that there were some thoughts that strategically the GOP, who has never really been aligned, with Trump, right? I mean, they've always fought him. They fought him through the primary. They fought him through, you remember when the GOP was going to try to oust him, just crazy conversations. B, to me, it looks like that there is a strategic plan that the GOP is willing to give up either the House or the Senate and potentially lead to, because if they can save face, if the GOP can save face and say, hey, we did not, we supported Trump all the way. We lost the House, we lost the Senate. It was very unfortunate. And whatever happens from there, we know that the GOP is a champion of Mike Pence. There's no doubt that he is definitely a party boy, right? He's aligned with the GOP. And what's weird, V, is that in my state, in Indiana, traditional conservative state, unless you look at Indianapolis proper, Marion County and up in Gary, but traditionally Indiana has always voted, Republican, especially when it comes to the House and the Senate. And what's odd this time is we have two candidates. There's a libertarian, in there that's polling like at 8%, but we have Joe Donnelly. And V, what struggles me is that I don't even know the name of the Republican candidate that's running. And I'm in this state, and nor have I had any literature, nor have I seen any yard signs, and sure enough, so I go to another chart that's not on this site, and it shows that Joe Donnelly more than likely is going to take the Senate seat in Indiana, which is just weird altogether. But I think this needs to be alarm bells. That why is the GOP being outspent by this much when we know that they should be raising funds? Is it a strategy of them to potentially give up one of the either the House or the Senate? V.
It looks to me when you look at the raw numbers, and you and I have heard rumors about this going back for some time, and that's why we've been beating it over the head like a dead horse over and over and over and over and over. Listen, I said, guys, how many times CJ and I have been on this mic saying, hey, you know what? Let's not get so enamored about what's going on in 4chan and 8chan and 1chan and 2chan. Let's not get so enamored about QAnon. Let's not get so let's not take for gospel that whatever or whoever or wherever the QAnon is, that we don't take it as gospel and that we just use this as a means to sit idly by. And we knew for a fact that the complicit GOP, and I've said it for the longest time, the Democrats and the Republicans are the two wings on the same dragon. They are completely interchangeable. There's no difference. We have a one-party system in this country. We've had it for a very, very long time. And the goal of the one-party system is to make sure it gives an illusion of choice. It's to make you think that there's an actual two-party system when there isn't. And number two, they will argue about the most minutia of details, and they'll give you, the American taxpayer, football issues. And what I mean by football issues is things for you to kick around with and divide amongst yourself. Gay marriage, okay? Taxes, abortion, you name a football issue, they will throw it your way. Guns rights, this, that, ain't nobody going to be taking away no damn guns. They know it'll be civil war. This is not going to happen. Not in this generation. But they'll give it to you because it's a football issue so that you can divide and conquer amongst yourself. So, this is how they play the game. Now, while this is happening, I'm going to tell you right now from some of the sources that I have and that I've spoke with, and that is that the GOP has agreed to give up the Senate. They're going to hold on to the House, but they will lose the Senate. And they will hold on to the House by a very, very thin margin. I mean, literally a paper-thin margin in the House. The Democrats will win back the Senate. That's
and I completely blew these numbers up on this chart. So let me go over this one more time. So let's break this down, what you just said, and take a look at the Senate, right? So, and I have a highlighter mouse thing, but for some reason it's not turning on right now. So break it down. So we go to the Senate level. We see that the total raised by the Democrats for 24 candidates is 248,000. Yep. 6 Republicans, 36,000. So obviously you can yes, there's pure numbers. So you can do the math and multiply by 3, be maybe at 90,000, a little bit above.
It's so obviously isn't it not
248,000 the Democrats have raised. So obviously there's some energy there. But look at the total spent. So in the Senate, like the Republicans,
Sage, your numbers are wrong. It's $248,612,000.
Sorry about that. Yes,
versus
correct.
36 million.
Okay, so take a look at the bottom chart. When you take a look at the 19 million that's been spent on Republicans versus the 132 million for Democrats, why it doesn't make any sense, V. Why Why are they doing this? We're like less than 2 months away.
Yeah,
from
and we're less than 2 months away. Look at total cash on hand.
Bingo.
Look at total cash. $156 million war chest ready to go. They got $34 million from PACs, political action committees. They got $188 million from individuals. The GOP got only $9 million from PACs and only $23 million from individuals. Remember, I told you this: 40% of the country is retarded. They're gone off the deep end. There's no saving them. They're the idiots that believe that Hillary Clinton is a goddess, that she is virtuous, that that Trump won because of Russian collusion. They're the idiot brain dead who watched that beta male Brian Stelter. I love how Mark Dice makes fun of him. Do you think that for 1 second that the president is unhinged? Brian Stelter, right? Little soy boy. They're completely brainwashed. That 40%, they're gone. They're gone. And that 40% of the Hollywood elites, the Silicon Valley carpetbaggers, monopolists, they have added to a total damn near $250 million Democrat war chest. $250 million versus $37 million. I'm rounding up, of course. And they're damn near $157 million cash flush ready to go. Cash on hand. Less than 2 months out from the midterms. They're cash on hand, $157 million. Versus just $28 million that the GOP has. And that's just the Senate. Siege, the House, they're not even done raising yet. I mean, the House, the Republicans have spent more on the House. I mean, they have more money. $307 million versus $212 million. Okay? But that gap could close very quickly. So based on the numbers, Siege, what do you think they're going to lose?
Well, I mean, it's going to be highly contested in the Senate. There's no doubt. I mean, I think the Republicans will hold the House, narrow margin, but in the Senate, and there's a lot of contested states. I mentioned my state, Indiana.
Look at how many radical leftists are being elected in my state of New York and in places like bloody Massachusetts and whatnot. They're not only Democrats; these are energized libtards. And do not underestimate the power of libtards in mass. It's a powerful thing. Stupid people in mass is a powerful thing. CJ, what do we got here? 10 most important Senate elections. Briefly explained, brother.
Yeah, and we don't have to go through each of it, but again, I'll put the link in the actual video description. But this kind of breaks down, each state, and particular in the Senate. And this is saying that the Republicans will narrowly hold the majority in the Senate. We will have to wait and see, but it'll break down by state and then list those that are the most contested. We know that like Florida is an eye-opening one where Rick Scott is going to be greatly contested. He's the former governor. He's now running for Senate. We know that his tie to the sugar industry, that they released all those the contaminated into the ocean, that large fish kills there and everything else, was a direct response of the alignment with the GOP. So it's going to be upload battle in Florida, for example. And I know Donnelly in my state, I think, is like a 7.5 point lead right now. So it's very eye opening. So again, I think the important message here is and I'm guilty of it as well, right? Like I couldn't even tell you the Republican for Indiana is the time to try to assess where your state is, to get involved, figure out what they're doing. And then more importantly, like I'm going to be my first phone call. I'm going to call my local GOP office and say, hey, why hasn't there been any information sent out? I'm not getting any type of robocalls. I'm not getting anything in my mailbox. What is going on? Why are you folding here? So more to follow. But again, this is just kind of eye-opening in regards to potentially what's happening. And when you look at the efforts of what the GOP, I mean, think about it. The last 2 years, the GOP has had the majority in the House and the Senate. They caved on the wall bill, right? They opted for something different. They knew that the wall bill would significantly, help the administration. The GOP has no problems now spending just as much as the Democrats. They funded Planned Parenthood. I mean, all these things that we think were going to change potentially, and they have done nothing but to counter what this administration is wanting to get accomplished. And it's very unfortunate, V. But yeah, this should be sending up alarm bells right now to all of our listeners.
Yeah. But don't worry, trust the plan, trust Sessions. I'm telling you right now, if this midterm elections is going to happen, don't expect mass arrests. You think there's going to be mass arrests while these guys grab power? I mean, I'm posing. What do you think, Siege? Do you think that what are the odds there's going to be some mass arrest while the Democrats take power of the Senate and the GOP is going to hold on to the House, but by their fingernails they'll hold on to the House, and the ones that will be selling out the House to hold it on by a thin margin are basically insiders anyway.
Oh, right. So, well, it's more of the swamp, right? That's
more of the swamp.
Yeah, more of the swamp. So it's, you got the likes of Mitt Romney, for God's sake, coming into the Senate, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, that in itself, right, is scary, right? I mean, think of the leadership role that he's going. I could potentially see him trying to oust Mitch McConnell like his first year if they do maintain the control of the Senate. But again, and we talked about pure numbers and pure facts. So everyone's and again, this is going to come back to haunt him because again, the GOP did this, not necessarily Trump. Now, granted, he could have vetoed, came back, but you take a look at the U.S. deficit, and I know no one cares about debt anymore, and I get that, but they leverage this stuff. They use this for campaign ads. They leverage this thing to say, hey, look, the Democrats actually have no problem, or the Republicans actually have no problem spending money. Now, granted, tax revenues were up, which I think that's an accomplishment itself. Not that I like taxes, but when you think of the tax cuts that were instituted, but for our federal government, it's never been about too much taxes. It's been there's way too much as far as regulations, lowering the rate for individuals. But it's been the focus from the beginning should have been on spending cuts, right? Cutting the lifeblood of spending, the spending that occurs in DC. That's what's leading to these huge deficits that are occurring. And in Trump's, first, couple of years, in particular this year in question, we will see $1 trillion deficit. And again, just more of the same of the last several administrations. And that was handed to him from the GOP. They're the ones that signed off on this, V.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what's happening is while all this is going on, see, let's talk about the company that coined the term "Don't be evil." Don't be evil. Let's pull this up. This is why it ties into the midterm 2015, right? I'm sorry, 2018 midterms, right? And here it is, Scroogle. Okay. Scroogle, it's been put out there. Panic and dismay leaked video reveals distraught Google execs grappling with Hillary Clinton's loss. Days after Scroogle was exposed trying to help Hillary Clinton win the 2016 election, a leaked internal video published by Breitbart senior tech correspondent Alam Bukhari reveals a panel of Google execs who are absolutely beside themselves following the Hillary Clinton's historic loss. The video is a full recording of Google's first all-hands meeting following the 2016 election. These weekly meetings are known inside the company as TGIF, or Thank God It's Friday meetings. Sent to Breitbart News by an anonymous source, it features co-founders Larry Page, Sergey Brin, Vice Presidents Kent Walker, Eileen Nugent, CFO Ruth Potart, CEO Sundar Pichai, Sundar Pichai. In the video, Sergey Brin, who should be freaking put into a prison camp and sent to hard labor, in hot, steamy prison somewhere in Alabama. That's where Sergey Brin should go. Brin can be heard comparing Trump supporters to fascists and extremists. Really? Arguing that this CIA front stooge, this stooge whose very company the deep state helped build. A stooge whose very company was funded, helped, created, and brought to the forefront by the NSA and the CIA. A company whose very source code runs on actual code created by the deep state and the CIA deep state intelligence agencies. This guy is talking about fascism, right? And extremists. Trump voters suffer from boredom, which has, he claims, historically led to fascism and communism. Really? Let's look at the political ideology of a typical Trump supporter and put that Trump supporter, lay them beside the political ideologies of the retards that you side with, Brin, Sergey. Let's see who's more fascist. Let's see whose political viewpoints lead to more fascism. Is it us who say we want limited government, smaller government, weaker government, less taxation, less regulation, meaning smaller and smaller government? Or is it you, more government, more taxation, more regulation, more control? Or is it us that wants more personal freedoms, more liberty, and something you hate, Sergey, with an emphasis on gay? Something you very much hate. Sir Gay, S-I-R, Sir Gay, G-A-Y. Sergey Rim. Something you hate all the most. Privacy. Which is why your retarded data mining company, posing as a search engine, does to the millions and millions of people that are using your stupid services. So go F yourself. So, according to Kent Walker, the VP Global Affairs, those who support populist causes like the MAGA movement are motivated by fear, xenophobia, hatred, and desire for answers that may or may not be there. He later says that Google needs to fight to ensure that populist movements around the world are merely a blip or a hiccup in the arc of history that bends towards progress. The video can be seen below. However, scroll down for a list of timestamped segments to note, courtesy of Breitbart. This is an hour-long video of a bunch of idiots sitting in an ivory tower in Silicon Valley, out in the most retarded, backward state on God's green earth, which is called California, a state that's run by Looney Tune leftist nut jobs. And these idiots sitting in their ivory towers in Looneyville are wanting to dictate to us. See, they're not content with being a search engine. They're not content with being an ad agency. No. You figure they're content with that they're happy having a big house. They're happy having nice cars and a yacht. No, they don't want those things anymore. They want a seat near the throne of power. They want a seat at the table of influence and power. They want a guest seat at the table of tyranny. They want an overlord. These guys like Sergey Brin wants to be your overlord. That's exactly what he wants to do. I mean, it's ridiculous. And when you got some time, go through it. You'll see what these sick people are. It's time we break these guys apart. And here's a good article by an incredibly weird source. This is from The Verge. Okay. It's by Russell Brandon. I'm surprised The Verge was owned by Vox Media. Vox is a bunch of idiots and morons. But here it is. The monopoly busting case against Google, Amazon, Uber, and Facebook. Antitrust crusaders have built up serious momentum in Washington, but so far it's all been theory and talk. Groups like Open Markets have made a strong case that big companies, especially big tech companies, are distorting the market to drive out competitors. We need a new standard for the monopolies, they argue, one that focuses less on consumer harm and more on skewed incentives produced by a company the size of Facebook or Google. Someday soon, those ideas will be put to the test, probably against one of a handful of companies. For anti-monopolists, it's a chance to reshape the tech into something more democratic and less destructive. It's just a question of which company makes the best target. To that end, here's the case against the four of the movement's biggest targets. Well, let's take a look at Google, the conglomerate. If there's a company that needs to be taken out, CJ, it's these tuckers right here. The best model for the antitrust is Google. Okay? Is Google. Which are okay, so Google is probably the closest fit because on a good day, Google, or Alphabet if you prefer, which is their corporate company, right?
Right.
The most valuable company in the world by market cap with dozens of different products supported by all-encompassing ad network. That's all it is. It's a friggin' advertising and data mining company. That's all they are. They don't make anything. They really don't produce anything. Well, they make hardware, they make phones. Yeah, they make phones that 5 people buy. You know, Google also has a clear and committed enemy, such as with Microsoft, Oracle, Yelp, and even Motion Picture Association of America calling for restrictions on the company's power. Some of those restrictions are already starting to take shape in Europe as Google faces a $5 billion fine for alleged anti-competitive Android bundling and a separate $4 billion GDPR case. Folks, you got to understand, Android operating system and Google are mutually exclusive. You could have an Android phone and not have a Google Play Store on it. Do you realize that? In fact, there are Android operating systems like Samsung's Tizen that doesn't have the Google Play Store on there. There are companies like right now that went under. I forgot what their name was. They were Cyanogen. Cyanogen was, and I think they went under, but Cyanogen created a brand of Android that's Google free. Because Android is an open source operating system. And when you have Android and it's a pure Android, it's a beautiful, fast, stable operating system. It's pretty amazing. It's built on Linux. It's phenomenal. And Cyanogen wanted to take out Google. They wanted to create an anti-Google alternative. And they folded. They just couldn't get all the capital in. And they were working with a phone company at that time, which was a Chinese outfit, which makes amazing phones called OnePlus. I mean, you want to talk about an amazing phone? Check out the OnePlus. It's amazing. OnePlus 6, I think, is the newest one that's out. Amazing phones for the money. It never took shape. Why? Because of what Scroogle's able to do with their massive budgets. So according to Open Markets, Matthew Stroll, the best long-term remedy for Google's dominance has more to do with Google's acquisitions. If you're looking for a silver bullet, probably the best thing to do would be to block Google from being able to buy any companies, period. Suddenly, you have to compete with Google. You just can't be bought by Google. That might sound tame compared to Europe's billion-dollar fines, but it cuts to the core of how Google's organized. The company has acquired more than 200 startups since it was founded, including central products like YouTube, Android, DoubleClick. The company's DoubleClick was at one time, folks, a competitor to Google AdWords. So what did Google do? Just buy them out. Google becomes the only ad organization that matters. This is why we need to get the hell out of these ghettos and form our own organization, our own platforms, which we are doing and we're going to do. It will be launched soon, I promise you. Just take some time. The company's module structure is arguably a direct result of a buying spree. And let me tell you, I think Google's parent company, which is Alphabet, I think they need to rename themselves Spaghetti. Because Google is one of those companies, they will launch 1 billion products and maybe 1 or 2 would stick. Because they burn through ridiculous amounts of money. Ridiculous amounts of money. All right? It's not like Apple. Apple, I mean, the new iPhones were out yesterday, the new Apple Watch. Wow. Phenomenal. I'm impressed. All right, we're moving on, right? So this might sound compared to Europe's billion-dollar fees. The company has acquired more than 200 startups since it was founded, including products like YouTube, Android, DoubleClick. Company's modular structure is arguably a direct result of the buying spree, and it's hard to imagine what Google would look like without it. More recent buys like Nest have fallen under the broader Alphabet umbrella. And Nest is one of those, smart home thermometers. But the core strategy hasn't changed. Would Google still be an AI giant if it hadn't bought DeepMind? Probably. But everyone involved would have had to work a lot harder. Even better, anti-monopoly activists would have a bunch of different ways to block those acquisitions. The Department of Justice Antitrust Division hasn't contested Google's acquisition so far, but it could always change its approach. The strongest fix would come from Congress, where Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democrat from Minnesota, has introduced a bill that would place an outright ban on acquisitions by any company with a market cap higher than $100 billion. As of press time, Google is worth roughly $840 billion. Of course, Klobuchar's bill doesn't focus on Google or even tech giants, but Stoller says that kind of blockade would have a unique effect on how big companies shape the startup world. All of these companies, from Amazon to Facebook to Google, they proactively find their competitors and they buy them out. Look at Amazon. Same thing. They buy out all their competitors. This would push VCs and entrepreneurs to truly compete with Google, not just surrender to, oh man, it's not. I mean, there's the temptation there. You create a product, a service, a website, whatever it is, and all of a sudden here comes Google, and they want to give you $500 million. They want to give you $2 billion. They want to throw money in your face. And you're like, yeah, especially if you got like venture capitalists, you got some VCs that are funding. You're gonna be like, oh my god, yeah, sure, yes, you want me to take my, okay, yes, I'll take my pants off. Sure, I'll do anything you want. You're ready to lay over as soon as they flash some green. But if you're putting in some regulations and restrictions such as this, you're going to prevent a company like Google dominating the market from constantly getting acquisitions. Amazon makes it hard for competitors. The company's competing against nearly everybody. The company's wholesale pillaging of diapers.com in 2010, which saw Amazon drop diaper prices by as much as 30% and matching diaper.com's pricing move until the smaller outfit agreed to be acquired. I'm thinking how vicious these assholes are at Amazon. More recently, smaller retailers say they're being targeted and priced out by generics from Amazon Basics, which benefits from Amazon's wealth of data on who's buying what. Since Amazon has money to out-discount any competitors. This is a company that makes no money, folks. Amazon makes no money. They survive simply because of taxpayer and government subsidies. That's how they survive. And the fact that 30% of the internet runs on Amazon Web Services. And then let's talk about freaking Facebook. Oh, God, let's get rid of this company. This is a useless company. Let's get rid of him. Same way you got to get rid of Google. This needs to be done. These ghettos need to be intact. They need to be taken down, because here's the deal. CJ, we have these internet ghettos. Then you have all the spending with the Democrats. Then you have all these distractions with the Trump stuff. What does it look like? Then you have all the banning of people like Alex Jones and whatnot, the complete censoring of InfoWars. What does it look like going into 2018? It looks pretty bleak, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, they're shutting down and controlling now. I think, in part, if the DOJ would put out an advisory to these companies in regards to the censoring, some of those things happening, perhaps that could help influence them. But that doesn't solve it at the end of the day. They need to leverage I can't think of any other industry, that's been allowed to do the amount of mergers and acquisitions that Google has done without facing any type of antitrust lawsuit at this point, right? I mean,
correct.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's going to get worse before it gets better, and that's why this needs to end, right now. And when you listen to that video of the executive management team at Google, what they envision, it's a very almost basically like a socialistic type approach to the way they govern their company, is that they believe their company's philosophies, their principles, all the things that they hold dear to the heart, that should be reflective in the social communities that they participate in. Hence, they think that us that are participating and that are utilizing their systems, that we should follow those same things. And that's why they were so outraged when Trump was elected, because a lot of what he thought, the nationalism, the thought that we don't have to live in some big collective society that Google wants us to live in. These are the people that are adjusting the algorithm. These are the people that are manipulating the search engines, and just that perspective alone is enough for the Department of Justice to say, hey, look, you know what, your search engines, who knows how much of the ad revenue right now, the ad spend that Google controls right now. If you think of everything from Google Maps to YouTube, whatever else they control, I'm sure that alone right there is enough to file antitrust lawsuits. But one thing, V, and I've said this before, what I don't think needs to happen is that there are new laws made or written. We just need to leverage the existing laws on the books and the Constitution before we go adding any other type of new government type of systems or laws or regulations.
Agreed wholeheartedly, my man. Agreed wholeheartedly. See, that brings us to the end of the broadcast. There's a litany of things that we need to cover. We just probably do it next time. What do we got lined up for today, bro?
Yeah, so we'll have Hanging with Harley at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think we are green lighted for that show. Harley had been doing some traveling, so we had to bounce it to Friday a few times. Haven't received any emails of this morning, so we should be good for 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then we'll be right back at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Gus.
Perfect. With that being said, folks, we are over and out. Take it away, El Cuco.